All right, so we are on our last section of Unit 8, 8.5 C, D, and E. So we're still talking about dividing polynomials. We're going to talk about synthetic division, okay? There is a shortcut for dividing polynomials, but it only applies when the divisor is linear. A linear divisor means that you have a polynomial with a degree of 1, right? So when you have a polynomial, a degree of 1. So linear divisors are x minus 1, 2x plus 3, etc., right? Okay. So when we're going to look at this completed example, we say if we want to divide x cubed minus 2x squared minus 8x minus 35 by x minus 5. The first thing we're going to do is find the 0. So if I have x minus 5, the 0 is 5. Finding the 0 means that I take x minus 5, set it equal to 0, and I get 5. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, so then after we do that, we're going to grab the coefficient. So second step is to take your coefficients. So my coefficients are 1, 2, -2, -8, -35. So I take the coefficients and I write them outside of, we call this the house. It's like reverse long division. So outside of the house, I write them, spreading them out. So I have 1, -2, -8, -35. Step 3, I'm going to bring down my leading coefficient. So I bring down 1. And then step 4, I start the process of multiplying and adding, okay? So I multiply the coefficient times the number in the house, which is our divisor, our 0. So we have 5 times 1, and then you're going to write its product underneath the next coefficient. So 5 times 1 is 5, and then we add vertically. So -2 and 5 make 3. And then we have 3 times 5 is 15. Then we add vertically, and -8 and 15 makes 7. 7 times 5 is 35, and -35 plus 35 is 0. So what this means is when I receive 0, this means that x minus 5 is a factor. Okay? When you're done, when you get to the end, you end up with your quotient. Your quotient is always 1 degree less than what you started off with your dividend. So we were x to the third, but we divided out an x. So our quotient is x squared. And these are the coefficients of our quotient. So it's literally 1x squared plus 3x plus 7. And then here at the quotient, if you were solving, you would use the quadratic formula, solve for x. If you needed to factor anymore, meaning that there's something that multiplies to give you 7, but adds to give you 3, then you would go ahead and factor. Otherwise, here's your quotient and you're done. So the steps that we follow, we write the known 0 in the house, and that's where we set our divisor equal to 0. We list out the coefficients of our dividend, and then we bring down the first coefficient. We multiply the first coefficient by the house number, and then we write the product under the second coefficient, and we're going to add down, and then we repeat the steps again. Multiply, write product, add. Multiply, write product, add. And then we use the final numbers to write our polynomial, because the final numbers are our quotient. And then this step, if I was needed to solve, then I could use the quadratic formula to find all other zeros. All right, so let's go through the teacher model. So we have 4x cubed plus 10x squared minus 6x minus 20 by x plus 2. So we have here, first step is to find our 0. If I was to set this equal to 0, x would equal -2. So that's the value that goes in my house. Step 1. Step 2 is to list out your coefficients: 4, 10, -6, -20. Step 3 is to bring down your first coefficient. And then step 4 is we're going to start the process of multiplying, writing the product, adding. Multiply, write the product, add. So we have -2 times 4 is -8. Agreed? 10 plus -8 is 2. -2 times 2 is -4. -6 plus -4 is -10. -2 times -10 is +20. And -20 plus 20 is 0. So our remainder is 0. So we know that x plus 2 is a factor. So again, we started off as 3. Now we're going to become x squared plus 2x minus 10. And I'm now going to factor this. So I have 4x squared plus 2x minus 10. I can factor out a 2 from each one. That leaves me with 2 times 2x squared plus x minus 5. And I'm done factoring because there is nothing that multiplies to give me -10 but adds to give me 1. Are there any factors that will multiply to give me -10 but add to give me 1? My choices are only 10 and 1 and 2 and 5. And there's no way that that's going to work, right? So that means that this is done factoring. So in the end, if depending on what I'm asking for, what I'm looking for, I know that 4x cubed plus 10x squared minus 6x minus 20 equals, and all my factors, so I have factors here, and I have x plus 2. So that equals 2 times x plus 2 times 2x squared plus x minus 5. On your classwork practice, it's going to want you to fully factor. So you factor till you can't factor no more. And I can't factor anymore. If I was to solve this, that means I take each factor and set it equal to 0. And that's why step 9 says you would have to use the quadratic formula to solve for all other zeros. All right, questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's do some more practice so you can get used to synthetic. Okay, so we have x to the 4th minus 14x cubed plus 51x squared minus 54x minus 110 by x plus 2. And it wants us to find the quotient and remainder. Okay, so step 1, we find our 0 by setting this equal to 0. So our 0 equals x equals -2. So that's what goes in my house. Step 2 is to list out my coefficients. I need to make sure that it's in standard form and that all terms starting from the greatest, working my way down to the least, are listed. Am I missing any terms? Nope, so I'm good to go. So my leading coefficient is a 1. Then I have -14, 51, -54, -110. Step 3 is to bring down my leading coefficient. And then step 4 is to start multiplying. So we multiply diagonally, and we're going to add vertically. All right. So -2 times 1 is -2. -14 plus -2 is -2 times -16 is 51 plus 32 is 83 times -2 is -54 plus -166. -2 times -220. 110, -110 plus 440. So now that I'm done, I now can state my quotient and my remainder. This is my remainder. What is left at the end is your remainder. So my remainder is 330. My quotient, so I started off as a 4th degree. So my quotient is going to end with as a 3rd degree. So 1x to the 3rd minus 16x squared plus 83x minus 220. So x cubed minus 16x squared plus 83x minus 220 is my quotient. Questions, comments, concerns? Do you feel that, do you see the shortcut behind this? Now, if you're a long division person, do long division. But there is a shortcut. Okay? Our next one we're going to do together. So again, step 1, we have our x minus 7. We set it equal to 0. So we know our 0 equals 7. So in our house is 7. Step 2 is list out your coefficients of your dividend. But what do you notice about our dividend? It's missing x to the 3rd. And yesterday when we talked about long division, when something is missing, what do we put in its place? 0. So when we list this out, we're going to have 1, but then we also have to put 0 for x cubed, -49 for x squared, -8 for x, and our constant is 56. All right, so we're going to begin by bringing down our 1 and start the fun. 7 times 1 is 7. 0 plus 7 is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. -49 plus 49 is 0. 7 times 0 is 0. -8 plus 0 is -8. 7 times -8 is -56. And 56 and -56 make 0. So this is a remainder of 0, which means that x minus 7 is a factor. Yay! Party over here. X minus 7 is a factor. But now let's know, what is my quotient? So I started off as a 4th degree, so I'm going to end as a 3rd degree. So we have 1x cubed plus 7x plus 7x squared plus 0x minus 8. So my quotient is x cubed plus 7x squared minus 8 is my quotient. All right. So yours is right here, but I want you to pay attention. Make sure it's written in standard form. And make sure you identify your missing. All right, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Go. All right. So when you looked here, standard form. So it wasn't in standard form because it wasn't in order of greatest to least powers. So we have negative 14x cubed, and I'm missing 0x squared plus 14x minus 840. All right, in my house, so if I set this equal to 0, I would have negative 4. So I have negative 14, 0, 14, negative 840. I'm going to bring down negative 14. Negative 4 times negative 14 was 56. 0 plus 56 is 56. Negative 4 times 56 was what? 224. $14 and 224 made. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. It's negative 56 and negative 224, which is negative 210. Thank you. And negative 4 times negative 210 is positive 840. So you end up with 0. Yay. Okay, so your remainder is 0. And because my remainder is 0, that means that x plus 4 is a factor. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay. And my quotient, I started off as a cube, so I'm going to end as a square. So my quotient is negative 14x squared minus 56x minus 210. This is not fully factored, so I'm going to factor that. So we have negative 14x squared minus 56x minus 210. I can factor out negative 14. That leaves you with negative 14 times x squared minus plus 4 and plus 56. Oh, it is. Thank you. I was right at first. What are you doing, Ms. Jones? There we go. So my quotient is that. Oh, my x didn't make it. There we go. We're there. We made it. All right, how do you feel about synthetic division? It's a little lazy, but doable, right? All right, so we're gonna go on to part D.